What's the smartest way you tested which family members actually loved you? When I turned 25, I told my entire family I had lost everything. My job, my apartment, my savings. I said I'd gotten fired from the design firm I'd been with for 4 years and couldn't pay rent. What I didn't tell them is I'd actually just been promoted, landed a huge bonus, and bought a condo in cash. The real story started 2 weeks earlier, when I overheard my mom on the phone saying, "Well, at least Jenna's doing well. Heaven knows Ava's always been the disappointment." Avenue me, I'd literally just designed the campaign that landed our agency its biggest client in 5 years. But apparently I was still the black sheep for choosing arts over law school. I wanted to know who actually gave a damn about me, not just how useful I was. So I called my parents and said I needed to come home for a bit. Mom sighed audibly and said, "How long is a bit?" When I arrived with a small duffel bag, she greeted me with, "I hope this isn't permanent. You know your sister's wedding is in 6 months." Dad didn't even look up from his crossword puzzle. I told them I'd lost my job, that I was behind on bills and needed a place to land while I figured things out. Mom just said, "Well, I suppose you can stay in the basement, but you'll need to pitch in for groceries." My sister Jenna, she didn't even say sorry. She just texted me a meme that said, "Should have picked a real job." Day 2, I asked if anyone could lend me $40 for gas to drive to an interview. Mom said, "You really should have planned better." Dad said nothing. Jenna replied to my group chat message with a gif of someone laughing. The only person who responded? My cousin Riley. Riley's 19, works part-time at a thrift store, and barely scrapes together tuition for community college. But she Venmo'd me $25 and said, "Sorry, it's not more. Let me know if you need a ride anywhere." 2 days later, I told my aunt I might need help finding a job. She immediately said, "Not sure what I can do. We don't really have connections for creatives." By week 2, I pretended to be applying for jobs, but mostly just watched how everyone acted when they thought I was worthless. Mom would make dinner and never ask if I'd eaten. Dad started locking the liquor cabinet. Jenna brought over her fiancé and loudly talked about their new house and how they were going to hire actual professionals for the interior, not family freebies. Riley texted me every day. "Need to vent? Want me to bring snacks? You okay?" I told her the truth on day 15. We met at a coffee shop and I handed her a check for $3,000. She looked at it and said, "What is this?" I told her everything about the promotion, the bonus, the condo, and the test. She cried, then laughed, then cried again. She said, "You really scared me, Ava, but I would have done it again. Even if you were flat broke forever, that was all I needed to hear." The next weekend, I invited the whole family to my farewell dinner. Told them I'd be moving out of state to live with a friend until I could get back on my feet. Everyone showed up. Even Jenna brought a cake with "Good luck" written on it like a passive-aggressive joke. At the end of dinner, I stood up and pulled out a manila folder. Inside was the deed to my new condo, a framed photo of my Employee of the Month award, and a check I'd written to myself for the full bonus. I said, "I didn't lose anything. I just needed to see who'd show up when I had nothing." The silence was unreal. Jenna's jaw dropped. My mom turned beet red. Dad said, "So this was all just a game to you?" "No," I said. "This was clarity." I turned to Riley and handed her a second envelope, a round-trip ticket to Italy, her dream destination since she was 12. She screamed, hugged me like her life depended on it. Everyone else just sat there. That was the last family dinner I ever went to. I send Riley postcards every time I travel now. She's still in college, but I help her with tuition. She showed love when there was nothing to gain. That's all I needed to know.